Update on a story we first brought to you yesterday. Amherst police and school officials continue their investigation into who may have started the fires in the high school bathroom. Western Mass News reporter Paris Dunford joins us live in studio with the latest updates. Paris.
Chris, school officials tell me they believe they know what happened yesterday and who was involved.
Multiple students were not in class on Friday at Amherst Pelham Regional High School. Superintendent Michael Morris tells us it's a precautionary measure as they work to figure out what happened during school on Thursday.
We've made sure that students who are directly involved in it are not in school until the investigation is complete.
Classes were dismissed at the school on Thursday after two separate fires, both in paper towel dispensers in boys' bathrooms. Fire investigators tell us they believe the fires were intentionally set. Morris tells us the investigation into what took place is close to being complete. This after they reviewed camera footage and interviewed multiple students and staff.
At this point, while the investigation is still continuing, we feel really confident that we understand now what happened yesterday.
Western Mass News obtained the letter sent out to the school's students, staff, and parents. It reads in part, quote, "We want to be clear that the incidents that happened yesterday are a crime. When the investigation is completed, the police department and the school district will take serious disciplinary actions to ensure that the safety of the school is not compromised by the student or students who were involved in this crime." The bathrooms in the high school have been an issue in the past, but Morris says they are working on making students feel safer.
We have a more clear path system for students to get to the bathroom, and they're better monitored in terms of we have more hall monitors there.
He also wants to acknowledge those who reported what they saw and helped keep the school safe from any further danger.
This was something that could have endangered many people. We had students and staff who immediately identified what they thought happened, communicated that kept everyone safe.
And although Morris tells me he believes they know who set those fires, it is still under investigation by Amherst police. We will continue to bring you the latest developments. For now, reporting live in studio, Paris Dunford for Western.